Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of The Leadership Pipeline, How to Build the Leadership-Powered Company by Charan, Stephen Drotter, and James Noel. Narrated by Richard Rohan. This book is copyrighted 2001 by John Wiley & Sons, Incorporated. This recording is copyrighted 2006 by Recorded Books. Today's businesses compete as much on the strength of their intellectual capital as on that of their financial capital. In this book, 3 experts on the subject show companies how to build their own leaders by understanding the critical passages a leader must navigate, by providing the appropriate development for navigating those passages, and by building the right system for ensuring a full pipeline of leaders now and in the future. And now, the Leadership Pipeline.
Preface. Though the leadership pipeline is a fresh concept that is specifically geared toward the issues facing organizations today, it has its origins in a model created many years ago by a man named Walt Mahler, a highly acclaimed human resources consultant and teacher. Walt contributed a great deal to human resource planning and succession at a number of blue-chip companies, including General Electric. His approach laid the foundation for modern succession planning approaches. In fact, it can be argued that his contribution was one of the secrets behind GE's success in developing leaders. We'd like to tell you this story, not only because it will help you understand the value of the pipeline model, but also because it's a fascinating story in and of itself. Telling it is also a good way for us to introduce ourselves and how we became advocates of this leadership development approach. In the early 1970s, Walt did some of the most critical design work for GE's succession planning process, conducting in-depth assessments of young GE leaders to help them develop their potential and plan their future. Walt focused much of his work on the transition from business manager to multi-business manager and acquired a deep understanding of the difference between these two leadership levels. Walt observed significant differences in work requirements at these leadership levels that required different skills. In addition, Walt's evaluation of individuals at several companies for succession purposes helped him discover why some leaders were more successful than others. To a certain extent, the most successful people added appropriate skills as they moved up the leadership hierarchy, but that alone didn't account for their success. Walt found that these highly successful individuals also changed their perspective on what was important and what they spent their time on as they moved from one leadership position to the next. Walt set out to identify all the changes that were required to be successful at different leadership levels. He concluded that the most important change involved work values, what one believes is important in the new job. He recognized that a marketing functional manager with 6 years of professional training and 12 years in functional roles had to see himself differently when he became a business manager. He had to give up his view of marketing as the most important aspect of his job. If he didn't, he would never apply himself with skill and energy to the non-marketing aspects of his new position. Because this person had invested so much time in learning the marketing ropes and had enjoyed a certain amount of success in this function, it would be very difficult to view something else as more important. If he did not achieve a broader perspective, he would become a business manager, but still think and act like a functional manager. All his research led Walt to the conclusion that values were key. This new business manager had to make a shift and start valuing business strategy and the contributions of all functions, not just the marketing function. Walt also began to define what came to be known as the crossroads model, suggesting that there were specific leadership crossroads in every organization, each with its own specific requirements. By the late 1970s, this model was central to Walt's teaching, assessment work, and coaching. At this point, one of us became part of the story, and he will tell the rest of it. Steve Drotter's story. In 1972, I was part of a new group of people at GE's corporate headquarters who were trying to build better assessment, selection, and succession planning for the company. With this goal in mind, I received training from Walt in accomplishment-based executive assessment. His emphasis on the difference between functional and business managers was the core of our work. As we conducted assessment of people throughout the company to validate or refute their leadership potential, we became smarter about the changes required at different leadership levels
Sample complete. Ready to continue?